Hi guys, let's find out how iPhone 7 baseband circuit works today. When the phone is emitting signals like audio, image and video, the baseband circuit works to convert these digital signals into IQ signals. When the phone is receiving signals, the baseband circuit works to convert these IQ signals into digital signals that can be processed by CPU. Malfunction of the baseband circuit will result in issues like searching issue or outgoing call failure of the phone. First, let's take a look at main components on the baseband circuit. BBRF, baseband CPU. It is responsible for digital to analog conversion, channel encoding and encryption of the signal sent. The signal received goes with a reverse process. Also, it is responsible for overall management of the baseband circuit. BMURF, baseband PMU. It provides all rails of power supply for the baseband circuit. EPROM-RF, baseband EPROM IC. It stores the calibration parameter of the RF circuit and other data like IMEI number of the phone. U0700, CPU. It is responsible for functional control of the baseband CPU and data communication with the baseband CPU. Now let's find out how iPhone 7 baseband circuit really works. To ensure normal operation of the baseband circuit, the power supply provided by baseband PMU is primarily needed. First, CPU will send radio on L to baseband PMU. Meantime, PMU will send a reset signal to baseband PMU with the main power supply and control signals received. Baseband PMU will then get Y5501 RF into work. Then, baseband PMU will form rails of transformer circuit with L5601 RF, L5602 RF, L5603 RF, L5604 RF, L5605 RF respectively, so as to output all rails of power supply needed for the baseband circuit to baseband CPU. Meantime, baseband PMU will send a 32.768K sleep clock to baseband CPU. With the sleep clock received, baseband CPU will send ZO out D0N to baseband PMU. Then, baseband PMU will send Shield MDM19P2 MCLK to baseband CPU. Meantime, baseband PMU will send a baseband reset signal to baseband CPU. These elements mentioned above, power supply, clock signal and reset signal, make up the working condition of the baseband CPU. Then, on the one hand, the baseband CPU controls the baseband PMU with the help of SBMI bus. On the other hand, the baseband CPU loads a baseband firmware and baseband EPROM IC info to activate the baseband circuit. Baseband CPU will then send a power supply hold signal to baseband PMU, so as to have the baseband PMU provide power supply to the circuit continuously. With these steps completed, to establish the data communication between baseband CPU and CPU, CPU will send up key reset signal to baseband PMU and baseband CPU. Baseband PMU will send the key clock signal to baseband CPU, so as to switch on the key bus port inside baseband CPU. Baseband CPU will then send up key clock request signal to CPU. With the signal fulfilled, CPU will then complete the data communication task with baseband CPU via the key bus. And that's the whole process of the baseband circuit. Now let's move to diagnosis and maintenance of the baseband circuit. If the phone features signal issues like outgoing call failure or searching issue, first thing we do is to confirm whether the fault is related to the baseband circuit. Once we have confirmed that the fault is not caused by software problem or network problem, we need to check info under the About category, so as to confirm whether the phone features blank modem firmware version and IMEI number. Blank modem firmware version or IMEI number of the phone can be an exact sign that the fault is related to the baseband circuit. If the phone cannot get access to the system, Then restore it from DFU mode. The error code can help you make a clear judgment. Once we have confirmed that the fault is related to the baseband circuit, first thing we do is to run cosmetic inspection of the logic board and check whether baseband circuit relevant area is normal. If nothing goes wrong, run diode mode measurement of capacitors around the baseband PMU. If there is shorted capacitor measured, check relevant circuits of the capacitor. If nothing goes wrong, follow the steps listed below one by one. 1. Reball or replace the baseband PMU. 2. Replace Y5501 RF. 3. Reball the baseband CPU. 4. Check relevant circuits of the baseband EPROM IC. If the problem still remains unresolved, run diode mode measurement of pins on baseband CPU. If the measured value of one specific pin is abnormal, check relevant circuits of the pin. If none of these solutions has worked, then baseband CPU is damaged. Common fault components of the baseband circuit. Malfunction of baseband CPU BBRF will result in issues like searching issue, outgoing call failure issue, or blank modem firmware version, IMEI number of the phone. Malfunction of baseband PMU BMRF will result in issues like searching issue, outgoing call failure issue, or blank modem firmware version, IMEI number of the phone. Malfunction of baseband EPROM IC EPROM RF will result in issues like outgoing call failure issue, or blank IMEI number of the phone. Malfunction of Y5501 RF will result in issues like searching issue, outgoing call failure issue, or blank modem firmware version, IMEI number of the phone. And this is our detailed explanation of how iPhone 7 baseband circuit works. Feel free to visit our official website www.driwatechnology.com. See you next course.